Let's open this chapter by explaining the technical steps that drive combat in Grim Depths, using the rogue Lois as our example. These steps repeat identically for every character, but produce different results thanks to the class balancing stats, damage and defense. Every attack in Grim Depths follows a precise sequence, driven by triggers that fire at specific cue points. This means the hit isn't just an animation, it's a real calculation that decides how much damage the enemy takes. At the start of the timeline, at cue point 1, the factor is applied to the character's attack value. It acts like a multiplier. It speeds up the pacing while keeping numbers readable and not too small. For development convenience, the factor is the same for all characters. At cue point 2, the hit is prepared. Lois's attack is added to the base damage, defining the pure strength of the strike before variance. During the animation at cue point 3, this is where the key steps happen. A small random component, the classic dice roll, is added, making each hit slightly different from the previous one. Finally, the base damage is added to the attack's total. This produces a unique outcome for that attack, never too predictable, yet always coherent. At the end of the animation at cue point 4, if the boss's hit points drop to 0 or below, the variable that marks its death is activated. From there, the game can show the end of the fight or move on to the next turn. When the blood splatter appears, this isn't just a visual effect, it's the moment the enemy's hit points are updated. The total damage appears in the on-screen indicator, and the values update accordingly. This order ensures everything stays clear and synchronized with what the player sees. First the strike is prepared, then the damage is calculated, and finally the visual effect and HP subtraction confirm the result. Defense works differently. If you choose the shield during your turn, you activate the guard state until the enemy's attack. Lois switches to a defensive pose, and when the boss strikes, she takes only 1/3 of the total damage. Her base defense is also factored in. The damage value is rounded to the nearest integer via JavaScript to keep numbers clean on screen. At the end of the hit, guard deactivates automatically. At the start of the boss's turn, the damage counters, base, total, and random, are reset so the calculation restarts cleanly. The boss performs an area attack. For each party member, the same logic used for the heroes is applied: power, factor, variance, and if active, guard to reduce the impact. Once the animation finishes, hit points are updated and the on-screen feedback appears. If at least one hero drops to 0, a game over is triggered with its dedicated animation, an intentional choice to streamline the demo and avoid an explosion of combinations. Items are used from the inventory and restore hit points, HP, or magic points, MP, when you click their icons. Two separate counters track remaining uses. When a counter reaches 0, the icon is disabled and can no longer be clicked. After the click, you move to an animated screen. There, a JavaScript routine restores a preset amount of HP or MP and ensures the value never exceeds the character's maximums. JavaScript is used both for logic and for small audiovisual refinements. The clearest example is the custom cursor. The script hides the system pointer and makes a bespoke icon follow the mouse, repositioned every frame on a dedicated layer that activates when the screen opens. No easing. Tracking is direct and responsive. The tip is calibrated with small offsets so the visible point coincides with the click hotspot, avoiding problematic misalignments in interactions. JavaScript also handles the audio fade-out on the intro screen, loaded from an external source, and the character sheet pop-ups, with bespoke animations, scale, and opacity that aren't natively available in Storyline.